A blade goes through an actor's lip. The blood is real, the pain is real, and the first full sentence out of his mouth isn't about either one, it's an apology, aimed at the person who caused it. That's the story we're unpacking today at Rabbit News Hallyu, because the order of operations here is backwards, and once you notice it, you start noticing it everywhere else in this actor's career. The scene, a 2018 production of The Untamed, shooting an action sequence in the arc fans call the Yiling storyline. A stunt performer standing in for the villain Shui Yang loses control of a prop sword. It catches Xiao Zhan across the mouth. The wound splits, swells, bleeds enough that the set stops and he's taken for treatment. That much is documented, corroborated by behind-the-scenes footage that has circulated for years. What happens in the next 90 seconds is the part almost nobody slows down to examine. He sits in front of a mirror. He treats the cut himself, with a cotton swab and iodine. Talking makes it worse, reportedly, speaking reopened the wound enough to affect his breathing, and he keeps talking anyway, because the stunt performer is standing a few feet away, visibly unable to process what just happened. Xiao Zhan's priority in that moment is making sure the man doesn't spend the night believing he ruined something. It's an accident, he reportedly tells him. Nobody wanted this. Then the crew moves on to the scheduled night shoot because he doesn't want one injury to cost the production a day. Here's the part that should bother you, in a good way, that is not how fear works. Human beings under sudden, sharp pain default to one of two responses: protect the body or react against the threat. It's wired into the limbic system, and it doesn't consult your manners first. So when the documented first instinct is neither of those things, when it's instead an assessment of someone else's emotional state before your own physical one, that's not politeness. Politeness is learned and performed on cue. This reads more like an operating system running underneath the performance. But there's a detail buried under the injury story that changes what you're actually looking at. Because this isn't one moment being pulled out of context for a nice headline. Multiple sets of behind-the-scenes footage, across different productions, show the same sequence of priorities repeating, after action scenes, checking whether the other actor got hurt before checking himself, stepping in when another performer makes an on-set mistake, diffusing it before it becomes public embarrassment, holding an umbrella for crew members back when he had no industry leverage to spend on gestures like that. In a business built on image management, where almost every visible act eventually gets read as strategy, a pattern that's consistent, one that shows up before there was an audience watching, and shows up the same way years after there was, starts to look less like a performance and more like a baseline the industry later learned to market. That's the shift worth sitting with. Entertainment companies are genuinely skilled at manufacturing warmth on command, a scripted apology, a rehearsed thank you, a well-lit charity appearance. What they're much worse at manufacturing is a reflex, because reflexes only show up in the moments nobody planned for: a camera to catch, a sword accident, a co-star's flubbed line, a crew member standing in the rain. If a management team could design instinctively comforts others while bleeding, every artist would have it. They can't build that. Which means when it surfaces this cleanly, this repeatedly, in contexts nobody staged, the more interesting question isn't whether it's genuine, it's why an industry that runs on constructed narratives keeps finding organic material this useful, and how much of an artist's actual temperament ends up quietly doing the marketing department's job for it. There's also a cost to being the person who always checks on everyone else first, and it's worth naming instead of just admiring. Constant emotional labor under pressure, on a set, under lights, on a schedule that doesn't pause for anyone's wound, isn't free. Minimizing your own pain in front of a crew, repeatedly, across years, is a coping pattern as much as it's a kindness, and the fact that it reads as effortless on camera doesn't mean it costs nothing off it. That tension, between a trait that appears authentic and a trait an industry has every incentive to keep circulating, is where the more grounded version of this conversation actually lives, once you get past the surface-level fan appreciation. Which brings us to how fandom actually processes a story like this, because the reactions split in a way that's more revealing than the incident itself. One reading is pure admiration, proof of character, evidence that this is a person, not a brand. A more skeptical reading treats every resurfaced clip as timed content, recirculated exactly when a management team needs a reputational boost. Both readings can be partly true at once. Fandom doesn't need a single verdict to keep a story alive, it needs enough ambiguity to keep arguing about it, and this clip has that built-in, genuine enough to move people, useful enough that no media team would ever bury it. And that recirculation is exactly what's happening. This is footage from 2018, being actively discussed again in 2026, 8 years later, which on its own says something about how the industry's memory works now. Old behind-the-scenes material doesn't fade the way it used to, it gets rediscovered, recontextualized, folded into whatever the current narrative needs. Here, the current narrative is Xiao Zhan's performance in the 2026 drama Legend of Zang Hai, playing a character defined by buried, controlled grief, the kind of role where restraint carries the entire performance. Viewers have described feeling that grief through the screen without it ever fully breaking the surface, and one widely shared comment put it about as precisely as it can be put: he isn't performing the pain, he's performing the act of swallowing it. That's not a coincidence of timing. That's a real-world instinct: hide it, manage it, protect the people around you from having to deal with it, becoming legible as craft. That's the bigger pattern underneath the individual story, and it's worth watching across the industry, not just with this one actor. When a performer's private temperament and their public artistic identity start reinforcing each other this cleanly, audiences respond to something they can't fully name, a sense that the control on screen isn't only technique, it's lived. Casting decisions, brand partnerships, and awards conversations increasingly chase exactly that quality, because it's the one thing a studio can't manufacture from nothing. It has to already exist in the person first, and then the industry learns how to point a camera at it. Zoom out further and this stops being a story about one actor at all. C-ent, K-ent, and the wider Asian entertainment ecosystem are all competing for the same scarce resource right now: international audiences who have gotten increasingly skeptical of Polish. Global fandoms are fluent in spotting a staged moment, the too perfect apology, the brand-safe soundbite, and that fluency has made genuinely unscripted material more valuable than ever, not less. An 8-year-old clip of an actor bleeding through a scene and still managing the emotions of the person who hurt him doesn't need a press release to travel. It travels because it can't be convincingly faked, and audiences have started rewarding exactly that quality with attention, streaming numbers, and brand loyalty that scripted PR struggles to buy on its own. That's arguably the bigger story sitting underneath this one, an industry slowly relearning that its most valuable asset isn't the narrative it builds, it's the moment it can't build at all. None of this means every kind gesture on a film set is secretly a career strategy, and it would be a mistake to force it into a tidier story than it actually is. The evidence here doesn't prove intent or calculation. What it does show, consistently, across 8 years and multiple productions, is a documented pattern that runs against basic human instinct under pain, and an industry that has gotten increasingly good at recognizing when a real trait is worth keeping in circulation. If you're the kind of viewer who wants the story behind the story, the quiet detail everyone else scrolled past, that's the whole reason Rabbit News Hallyu exists. Subscribe if you want analysis, not just headlines.